March 15, 1945. Camp McCoy, Wisconsin. The frozen ground crunched beneath bare feet as 127 Japanese prisoners of war shuffled through the processing line, their eyes fixed downward in the shame of capture. For soldiers raised on the code of Bushido, surrender meant a fate worse than death, eternal dishonor that would stain their families for generations. Among them was Sergeant Hiroshi Nakamura of the 32nd Army, captured during the brutal fighting on Okinawa. His diary, discovered decades later in Japanese archives, would provide historians with the most detailed account of the psychological shock experienced by Japanese POWs encountering American camp conditions. The leather-bound journal, hidden beneath his uniform during capture, contained observations that would challenge everything these men believed about their enemies. "We expected execution," Nakamura wrote in cramped characters on smuggled paper. "Death would have been merciful compared to the dishonor of capture. Instead, the Americans processed us like civilians at a government office. They photographed us, gave us numbers, explained rules in broken Japanese. No beatings, no humiliation ceremonies. This confused us more than kindness would have." The train journey from the West Coast had already begun their transformation. Unlike the cattle cars that transported Japanese civilians to internment camps, these prisoners rode in regular passenger coaches. Guards allowed them to look out windows at the passing American landscape. What they saw contradicted 3 years of propaganda about a nation supposedly crippled by war. Private Kenji Sato, captured on Iwo Jima, recorded his amazement at the industrial capacity visible from the train. Factories with lights burning day and night. Parking lots full of automobiles belonging to workers. In Japan, only officers and wealthy merchants own cars. Here, ordinary factory workers drive to their jobs. The guard told us these plants run 3 shifts, producing tanks and planes faster than we can destroy them. The landscape itself defied Japanese understanding of warfare's impact on civilian life. Farmhouses blazed with electric lights. Small towns displayed illuminated shop windows filled with goods. There were no air raid shelters, no blackout curtains, no signs of a population living under siege. America appeared to be conducting global war while maintaining peacetime abundance. The first shock came during medical examination. American medics treated infected wounds, administered vaccinations, and checked for diseases with clinical professionalism. Corporal Sato, his shrapnel wound festering from weeks without proper treatment, recorded his bewilderment. "The American doctor cleaned my wound with the same care he would show his own soldiers. In our army, wounded prisoners were left to die or killed quickly. This enemy doctor spent an hour removing metal fragments and bandaging the injury. He even gave me pills for pain." The medical facility itself astounded the prisoners. X-ray machines, surgical equipment, and supplies that Japan could no longer obtain due to the American naval blockade were standard provisions in this camp hospital. Dr. Masaru Ishida, a military physician captured on Saipan, found equipment superior to what he had used in Japanese civilian hospitals before the war. "They have medicines we have only heard described in medical journals," Dr. Ishida wrote in a letter to his wife that never reached its destination. Penicillin, sulfa drugs, plasma for transfusions. The surgical instruments are newer than anything in Tokyo University Hospital. They spend more on prisoner medical care than our government allocates to military hospitals. The Americans documented everything with obsessive precision. Height, weight, medical conditions, unit assignments, dates of capture, all recorded on forms typed by efficient clerks. This bureaucratic approach confused men accustomed to the arbitrary brutality of military authority. Japanese prisoners expected immediate interrogation under torture. Instead, they received identification cards and orientation lectures about Geneva Convention rights. Lance Corporal Takashi Yamamoto, a rice farmer's son from Kyushu, wrote of his confusion. "They explained our rights as prisoners. Rights. We have never heard this word applied to captured enemies. They told us we could refuse to answer questions beyond name, rank, and serial number. In our army, prisoners have no rights except the right to die quickly if they are fortunate." The camp itself defied expectations shaped by Japanese military philosophy. Wooden barracks with electric heating, flush toilets, and running water represented luxury beyond what most prisoners had known as civilians. The buildings were constructed with more lumber than entire Japanese villages possessed. Each barracks housed 50 men in conditions that exceeded Japanese military standards for officer quarters. The abundance of basic materials overwhelmed prisoners accustomed to scarcity. Electric light bulbs burned freely throughout the night. Steam radiators provided constant heat during Wisconsin's harsh winter. Prisoners could adjust thermostats to control temperature in individual rooms, a concept foreign to men who had heated their homes with charcoal braziers. But nothing prepared them for what the guards called decontamination and orientation. The processing included surrender of personal effects, medical examination, and assignment to quarters. These procedures, conducted with American efficiency, revealed organizational capacity that exceeded anything the Imperial Japanese Army had achieved. The Americans maintained detailed records of every prisoner, tracking medical needs, dietary restrictions, and work assignments with machine-like precision. Forms were typed in triplicate, filed in alphabetical order, and cross-referenced by capture date and military unit. This systematic approach to prisoner management demonstrated administrative sophistication that Japanese officers rarely achieved in their own units. Private Yoshio Tanaka, who had never seen a typewriter before his capture, watched American clerks processing dozens of prisoners hourly. Each machine produces documents faster than 10 scribes writing by hand, he observed. The Americans have mechanized even paperwork. They process captured enemies with the same efficiency they manufacture weapons. The psychological impact of American organizational capability was immediate. These prisoners came from an army where supply failures were common, where units often lacked basic equipment, where record-keeping was haphazard at best. Discovering enemies who could efficiently manage thousands of prisoners while simultaneously conducting global war revealed military competence that made Japanese victory impossible. As night fell on their first day in captivity, 127 Japanese soldiers lay in heated barracks, their bellies full of hot food, their wounds treated by enemy doctors, their futures uncertain, but their immediate needs met with a thoroughness that exceeded what their own military had provided. They had expected death or torture. Instead, they discovered systematic care that challenged every assumption about American character and capabilities. The concrete buildings stood unremarkable among the camp's wooden barracks, but what lay inside would fundamentally challenge every assumption these soldiers held about American character and capabilities. The sign above the door read, "Sanitation Facility," in English and broken Japanese characters. Guards herded groups of 20 prisoners inside at a time, their voices echoing off tile walls as they explained procedures in halting Japanese mixed with gestures and demonstration. What the prisoners discovered inside defied comprehension. Rows of individual shower stalls, each equipped with hot and cold running water, controlled by simple knobs that any man could operate. Steam rose from the concrete floors as previous groups had tested the systems. The smell of soap, real soap, not the rice-based substitutes they had known for years, filled the air. "I thought it was a trick," wrote Private Yoshio Tanaka, a farm boy from Hokkaido who had never seen indoor plumbing before his conscription. Hot water flowing from pipes like a mountain spring, but endless. I turned the handle expecting a trickle. Instead, water poured down like a waterfall, so hot it burned my skin until I learned to adjust the temperature. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. These men, raised in a culture that emphasized endurance of hardship as virtue, discovered their captors possessed luxuries beyond imperial imagination. Japanese public baths, when available, served entire communities and required careful rationing of heated water. Here, individual prisoners could shower alone with unlimited hot water. Sergeant Nakamura's diary entry from March 16 revealed the depth of his shock. The guard demonstrated the shower controls as if teaching a child to use chopsticks. Hot water, cold water, soap, towels, all provided freely to prisoners. In Japan, hot baths are rare luxuries, even for civilians. Our soldiers in the field have not bathed in hot water for months, sometimes years. Yet here, captured enemies receive what Japanese officers cannot. The abundance of hot water defied Japanese understanding of resource management. In their homeland, fuel shortages had eliminated most civilian heating since 1943. Public baths operated on restricted schedules with carefully rationed hot water. Military units in the field went months without bathing facilities, relying on cold streams or rice water substitutes for cleaning. Lance Corporal Yamamoto calculated the implications with growing horror. Each prisoner used enough hot water in one shower to supply a Japanese squad for a week. Multiplied by hundreds of prisoners daily, this single camp consumes more fuel for bathing than an entire Japanese division receives for all purposes. If our enemies can waste resources on prisoner luxury, what abundance must their own soldiers enjoy? The soap itself became a symbol of American industrial capacity that haunted the prisoners. Bars of white soap, abundant and freely distributed, replaced the mixture of ash and animal fat that served as cleaning agents in wartime Japan. The prisoners examined these bars with wonder, noting their uniform quality, pleasant scent, and generous size. The soap smelled of flowers, recorded Yamamoto. In Japan, flowers are for viewing, not for making soap. This wastefulness revealed resources so vast they could afford to make cleaning products beautiful. We understood then that our homeland faced enemies who could dedicate luxury materials to basic necessities. American guards explained the shower schedule with casual efficiency that revealed systematic organization. Each prisoner group received 30 minutes for bathing, with fresh towels and clean clothing provided afterward. The Americans had calculated precise timing to process hundreds of men daily while maintaining unlimited hot water supply. Private Tanaka discovered controls he had never imagined possible. Individual temperature adjustment allowed each man to customize water heat to personal preference. Soap dispensers provided liquid cleansers in addition to bar soap. Shampoo, a product unknown in wartime Japan, was distributed freely for hair washing. They have machines that heat water constantly, Tanaka wrote to his family in a letter that never reached its destination. Giant tanks with fires burning underneath, producing hot water faster than it can be used. The guard showed me the boiler room, pipes and gauges and automatic controls that maintain perfect temperature without human attention. This mechanization of basic needs reveals engineering capabilities beyond our comprehension. The shower experience destroyed Japanese assumptions about American character as effectively as it revealed American abundance. Prisoners expected cruelty from captors, especially given propaganda about Western barbarity toward Asian peoples. Instead, they discovered systematic provision for human dignity that extended even to enemies. Dr. Ishida observed the psychological transformation among his fellow prisoners. Men who arrived filthy and dejected emerged from the showers standing straighter, their eyes brighter. The Americans understood something our military never grasped, that maintaining human dignity strengthens rather than weakens discipline. Clean prisoners were healthier, more cooperative, less likely to attempt escape or cause trouble. The camp's water system impressed the prisoners almost as much as the hot showers themselves. Flush toilets in every barracks, drinking fountains providing unlimited clean water, sinks with hot and cold taps, infrastructure that exceeded what most had known in civilian life. Japanese cities struggled with water shortages and primitive sewage systems. Here, water flowed abundantly for every conceivable purpose. Corporal Sato calculated the daily water consumption with growing amazement. This camp uses more water in a single day than my village consumed in a month. Every building has pipes bringing fresh water and carrying waste away. The Americans have solved problems that plagued Japanese cities: unlimited clean water, effective sewage disposal, and hot water on demand. The abundance was so complete it became wasteful by Japanese standards. Prisoners watched guards leaving water running while washing hands, taking long showers without concern for conservation, and using hot water for cleaning equipment. This casual waste revealed resources so vast that conservation was unnecessary. They heat water to wash dishes, observed Private Tanaka. In Japan, we use cold water and save precious fuel for cooking. Here, every kitchen task uses hot water as if fuel costs nothing. The abundance is so complete they can afford inefficiency. The shower facility's design revealed American engineering sophistication that impressed even skeptical prisoners. Automatic drain systems prevented flooding. Ventilation fans removed steam and odors. Non-slip surfaces prevented accidents. Every detail demonstrated careful planning and quality construction. The Americans had solved technical problems that Japanese engineers struggled with throughout the war. Consistent water pressure, reliable temperature control, efficient drainage, and effective ventilation. all integrated into a system that operated smoothly despite heavy use by hundreds of prisoners daily. As the prisoners completed their first week of daily hot showers, the psychological transformation accelerated. Men who had arrived prepared to die rather than surrender found themselves questioning fundamental assumptions about enemy capabilities and Japanese superiority. The hot water flowing endlessly from American pipes carried away more than dirt and lice. It washed away illusions that had sustained them through years of brutal warfare. The shower had become more than hygiene. It was daily proof of American abundance that made prolonged resistance impossible. The hot showers were merely the beginning of revelations that would systematically destroy Japanese confidence in ultimate victory. As prisoners settled into camp routines, each day brought fresh evidence of American abundance that contradicted years of propaganda about enemy weakness and resource scarcity. The camp kitchen operated with an efficiency that astounded men accustomed to military starvation rations. 3 meals daily, served on metal trays with portions that exceeded what most had eaten as civilians. White rice, not the black market mixed grains of wartime Japan, appeared at every meal, accompanied by meat, vegetables, and dairy products that had vanished from Japanese tables in 1943. Today the guards threw away rice, wrote Nakamura with obvious distress. Rice that was perfectly good but had sat too long in the warming trays. In Japan, a single grain of rice wasted brings shame to the household. Here, they discard bowls of rice because it grew slightly hard. The abundance is so vast that waste means nothing. The kitchen itself defied Japanese understanding of military food preparation. Electric stoves provided instant, controllable heat without the smoke and inefficiency of wood fires. Refrigeration units preserved fresh meat and dairy products throughout Wisconsin's winter. Mechanical mixers prepared dough for bread that emerged from ovens in perfect uniform loaves. Private Tanaka, assigned to kitchen duty, documented the systematic approach to feeding thousands of prisoners. They have machines for everything. Potato peelers that process bushels in minutes, meat slicers that cut perfect portions, dishwashers that clean hundreds of plates without human labor. One American cook with machines accomplishes what 20 Japanese cooks achieve by hand. The abundance of food astounded prisoners who had subsisted on rice and fish rations when supplies permitted. Meals included fresh vegetables transported from distant states, dairy products that Japanese civilians hadn't seen since before the war, and meat portions that exceeded weekly rations for Japanese soldiers in the field. Corporal Sato calculated the implications with growing despair. Each prisoner receives daily food rations equivalent to what Japanese civilians get weekly, if they are fortunate. The Americans feed captured enemies better than we feed our own people. This reveals an agricultural and transportation system capable of supporting unlimited warfare. The camp hospital particularly shattered Japanese assumptions about American priorities. Prisoners received medical treatment that surpassed what Japanese civilians could access during peacetime. Advanced surgical equipment, pharmaceutical supplies, and diagnostic tools that Japan could no longer manufacture were standard provisions for captured enemies. Dr. Ishida found himself working alongside American medical staff in conditions that exceeded most Japanese civilian hospitals. They have medical supplies we have only heard described in journals from before the war, he wrote in letters home. Sulfa drugs, penicillin, surgical instruments made from steel alloys that Japan cannot produce. The Americans spend more on prisoner medical care than our government allocates to military hospitals. The systematic approach to prisoner health care revealed American organizational capabilities that exceeded Japanese military efficiency. Complete medical records for every prisoner, scheduled examinations, preventive treatments, and psychological counseling for traumatized soldiers, services that Japanese armies rarely provided their own wounded. Private Yamamoto, recovering from infected wounds, observed the hospital's operation with amazement. American nurses work alongside doctors as equals, not as servants. They use machines to monitor patient conditions, electric equipment to sterilize instruments, and written protocols that ensure consistent treatment. Every aspect is systematized for maximum efficiency. The camp's educational facilities introduced concepts that challenged fundamental Japanese beliefs about racial hierarchy and cultural superiority. Books in Japanese, obtained through diplomatic channels or translated by Nisei interpreters, provided access to American literature, philosophy, and science. Prisoners discovered technological innovations, democratic principles, and cultural achievements that contradicted propaganda about Western decadence and inferiority. The library contained thousands of volumes covering subjects from agricultural techniques to democratic theory. Prisoners who had been told Americans were culturally inferior discovered scientific achievements, literary works, and philosophical concepts that surpassed Japanese accomplishments in many fields. Private Tanaka, who had learned to read only after military conscription, spent hours studying American agricultural manuals. They grow more rice per acre than Japanese farmers achieve on our best land. Their machines do the work of hundreds of men. The photographs show endless fields stretching beyond the horizon, harvested by mechanical reapers that move like iron dragons. The technical manuals particularly impressed prisoners with engineering backgrounds. American agricultural machinery, industrial processes, and construction techniques demonstrated technological sophistication that Japan had never achieved. Detailed diagrams revealed manufacturing capabilities that made American military superiority inevitable. Lance Corporal Yamamoto studied automotive repair manuals with growing comprehension of American industrial capacity. They have standardized parts that fit any vehicle of the same model. Screws, bolts, gears, all manufactured to precise specifications that allow instant replacement. In Japan, each vehicle is hand-built with unique parts. American standardization enables mass production we cannot match. The camp's workshop facilities allowed prisoners to observe American manufacturing methods firsthand. Precision tools, electric machinery, and quality materials were available for maintenance and repair work. Prisoners discovered manufacturing techniques that eliminated the inefficiencies plaguing Japanese war production. Sergeant Nakamura, assigned to camp maintenance, documented the systematic approach to equipment repair. Every tool has its designated place. Every procedure follows written instructions. Every repair uses standardized parts. Americans have eliminated the guesswork and improvisation that characterizes Japanese manufacturing. Their systematic methods produce consistent results. The abundance of materials available for routine maintenance astounded prisoners accustomed to wartime shortages. High-grade steel, precision machine parts, and advanced alloys were used for mundane purposes like fence repair and equipment maintenance. Materials that Japan hoarded for critical military applications were employed casually for prisoner camp upkeep. The Americans replaced rather than repaired equipment that Japanese technicians would have painstakingly restored. Electric motors, plumbing fixtures, and mechanical devices were discarded when newer models became available. This planned obsolescence revealed manufacturing capacity so vast that efficiency mattered more than conservation. Dr. Ishida observed the psychological impact of systematic abundance on his fellow prisoners. Men who arrived as fanatical believers in Japanese superiority now questioned everything they were told. Daily exposure to American efficiency, abundance, and organizational capability destroys illusions faster than any propaganda could achieve. The transformation was visible in prisoner behavior. Men who had initially refused to cooperate now volunteered for work details, attended educational sessions, and requested English language instruction. The systematic demonstration of American superiority was converting hardened soldiers into willing students of democratic society. "We came as warriors of the divine emperor," wrote Nakamura in late spring 1945. "We are becoming students of a civilization we never understood." The abundance surrounding us daily proves that Japan's war was doomed before it began. How can rice and fish compete against unlimited industrial capacity? As summer approached, prisoners faced the reality that their homeland confronted enemies possessing resources beyond imagination. The hot showers had been merely the first revelation in a systematic education about American power that made continued resistance impossible. By summer 1945, the cumulative impact of American abundance had produced what camp psychiatrists termed ideological dissolution among the Japanese prisoners. Men who had arrived prepared to die rather than surrender found themselves questioning the fundamental premises of their emperor-centered worldview. The transformation accelerated when news of the atomic bombings reached the camps on August 6th and 9th. Rather than celebrating victory over Japanese cities, American guards showed somber concern about the weapons implications. This reaction confused prisoners who expected triumphant cruelty from victorious enemies. The guard who told us about Hiroshima was crying, recorded Sergeant Nakamura. He said the bomb was terrible, that he hoped such weapons would never be used again. In Japan, we would celebrate the destruction of enemies. This American mourned the deaths of strangers. His grief revealed strength we had never imagined, the power to destroy coupled with reluctance to kill. The atomic bomb's existence confirmed what prisoners had already learned through daily exposure to American abundance. The nation that could provide hot showers for captured enemies possessed technological capabilities that made resistance futile. The weapon that destroyed Hiroshima was merely the ultimate expression of industrial and scientific superiority they had witnessed in prison camp life. Dr. Ishida understood the implications immediately. The Americans developed this ultimate weapon while simultaneously fighting global war, maintaining civilian prosperity, and caring for enemy prisoners. The technological sophistication required exceeds anything Japan attempted. We challenged gods with spears. The Emperor's surrender announcement on August 15 found Japanese POWs psychologically prepared for defeat in ways their homeland could not comprehend. They had witnessed American industrial capacity firsthand, experienced the abundance that made prolonged warfare sustainable, and discovered humanitarian values that transcended racial hatred. Private Tanaka's diary entry captured the collective realization. The Emperor says we must endure the unendurable. We prisoners have already learned this lesson. American abundance makes continued resistance impossible. Our people at home cannot imagine what we have seen: unlimited resources applied with systematic efficiency to achieve any goal. The camp's response to Japan's surrender revealed American character that further challenged prisoner assumptions. Instead of celebration or revenge, guards showed quiet relief that the killing would end. Prisoners received the same meals, the same medical care, the same daily hot showers as before. Nothing changed except the certainty that they would eventually return home. The systematic nature of American prisoner care became more apparent as repatriation planning began. Detailed records allowed efficient processing of hundreds of prisoners for return to Japan. Medical examinations ensured each man was healthy enough for the journey. Clothing and personal effects were distributed to replace items lost during capture. Corporal Sato observed the repatriation preparations with amazement. They are sending us home better clothed and healthier than when we arrived. New uniforms, medical treatment, even dental care for those who need it. American efficiency extends to eliminating problems that might arise during our return journey. The Americans provided vocational training during the final months of captivity, teaching skills that would help prisoners rebuild war-devastated Japan. Courses in agriculture, construction, and manufacturing used American methods that promised greater efficiency than traditional Japanese techniques. Private Yamamoto studied American automotive repair techniques that would prove valuable in post-war Japan. They teach us systematic approaches to problem-solving, standardized procedures that eliminate guesswork, and quality control methods that ensure consistent results. These American industrial methods could revolutionize Japanese manufacturing. The camp library became a center for intensive study as prisoners prepared for return to a defeated homeland. Books on democratic government, economic systems, and social organization provided alternatives to the militaristic ideology that had led Japan to disaster. Sergeant Nakamura's final diary entries revealed complete transformation. We studied the American Constitution, learning how democratic government operates through written laws rather than arbitrary authority. We examined their economic system that creates abundance through individual initiative rather than central control. These ideas offer hope for Japan's future. The hot showers that had initially shocked them became daily reminders of the civilization they had fought against. Hot water flowing endlessly from pipes represented more than luxury. It symbolized technological mastery, resource abundance, and care for human dignity that extended even to enemies. As repatriation ships prepared to depart in late 1945 and early 1946, Japanese POWs faced return to devastated homeland with perspectives fundamentally altered by captivity. They had entered American camps as soldiers of the Divine Emperor, convinced of Japanese superiority and American weakness. They departed as witnesses to industrial and humanitarian power that redefined their understanding of civilization itself. The final medical examinations revealed the physical transformation of former prisoners. Men who had arrived malnourished and diseased now displayed robust health that exceeded their pre-capture condition. American food, medical care, and sanitation had restored bodies damaged by years of wartime deprivation. Dr. Ishida documented the health improvements among repatriated prisoners. Average weight gain of 15 pounds per man, elimination of diseases that plagued Japanese forces throughout the war, and dental care that most had never received in civilian life. Americans restored enemy health more effectively than Japanese military cared for its own soldiers. The journey home aboard American transport ships provided final lessons in systematic efficiency. Ships designed for cargo had been converted to passenger vessels with systematic attention to human comfort. Sleeping quarters, dining facilities, and medical stations ensured safe passage for thousands of former prisoners. Private Tanaka's shipboard observations captured the continuing revelation of American capabilities. The ship carries 3,000 passengers in conditions superior to Japanese military transport for officers. Systematic organization ensures everyone receives adequate food, medical attention, and living space. American efficiency applies to every undertaking. Many prisoners struggled to reconcile their treatment with pre-war propaganda about American character. The systematic kindness they had experienced contradicted everything they had been taught about racial enemies and Western barbarity. Some remained silent about their experiences, knowing that positive accounts of American treatment would be unwelcome in defeated Japan. Others became quiet advocates for democratic values and peaceful cooperation with former enemies. They had witnessed a civilization capable of unlimited destruction that chose instead to show mercy. The contrast with Japanese military brutality was too stark to ignore. Sergeant Nakamura's final entry, written as transport ships approached Japanese ports, captured the transformation. We came to America expecting death and found dignity. We discovered enemies who possessed everything we lacked: unlimited resources, advanced technology, and the strength to show mercy. The hot showers were not just cleaning our bodies, but washing away illusions we had carried into battle. The psychological impact extended beyond individual transformation to broader implications for Japan's future. Prisoners returned home carrying knowledge of American industrial methods, democratic principles, and humanitarian values that would influence post-war reconstruction. Japan must learn from this defeat, Nakamura concluded. Not just about military strategy, but about the civilization we fought against. Our enemies proved stronger not just in weapons, but in humanity. The abundance we witnessed makes clear that prosperity comes from freedom, not conquest, from cooperation rather than domination. The repatriation ships that carried Japanese POWs home in 1946 transported more than defeated soldiers. They carried witnesses to American abundance who would help rebuild Japan according to democratic principles. The hot showers at Camp McCoy had become symbols of transformation that would reshape an entire nation. The prisoners who experienced those first hot showers would never forget the lesson. True strength lay not in the willingness to endure suffering, but in the capacity to eliminate it entirely. In the steam rising from those concrete stalls lay the psychological seeds of Japan's post-war alliance with America and the democratic reconstruction that followed military defeat.